Ever wondered why or how Earth gets its energy? Why it's warm in the tropics, cold in the Arctics? Well, it's all convection, magnetic induction actually. The wind, by convection, drives the magnetic field. The magnetic field is in the wind, a bit more regulated or constant than the window. What happens is the wind comes out of the Arctic, swings around in a curve and comes up to the Tropic of Capricorn, and out of the north swings around, comes to the Tropic of Cancer. You can get online and see these images in meteorology, right? So I'm not pulling your leg, it all works that way. The Egyptians told us that the magnetic field is in the wind. So you can imagine the magnetic field moving towards the tropics, either side of the tropics, Capricorn and Cancer. Well, metaphorically and metaphysically, those points on either side are basically capacitor plates, as what we know in the physical world. You've got to imagine, you know, the makeup of Earth is just not physical. Nothing is actually physical in our realm. Only down here on the plane of Earth, on terra firma or thereabouts, everything is perceived as physical. It's just the way we've been created. That old silicon chip in our brain. 5, 6 senses. Okay? 5 for most, because most are half brain dead. They have no concept of the 6th sense. Well, imagine those two tropical lines represent the metaphysical capacitor plates. See, in physics you'd have a North Pole magnet on one side and a South Pole magnet on the other. And you get the gap just right, and you use a changing magnetic field, because our system is electromagnetic, so it obviously has a changing magnetic field. Well, as the field comes over from the south and avoids this tropical zone, it goes straight down through the Earth and crosses over. And same with the other side, from the northern hemisphere to the south, it crosses over. As below Earth, the magnetic field does not cross the tropics. See, globies don't tell you that. They're munted, they're brain dead. You know, science tells you the magnetic field is strong at the poles and very weak in the equator. They don't tell you that there's no magnetic field crossing the tropics at all. It's the build-up on either side that creates your magnetic field for your compass to follow, a direct path north to south. That's why it's direct in the tropics. It's not direct outside of the tropics, okay? It's a curving magnetic field. Everything curves in the toroidal field of the Earth. Well, where the magnetic field builds up on the tropics there, it's creating the electromagnetic induction where it like changes polarity as it crosses over, as a boost in the magnetic field. And that's happening, you know, every minute, every second, or whatever. That forms the sun, creates the sun. This is one version. There's more stories to this. You just got to accept one at a time and put them all together. There's several ways to tell the story. It's the sun, the image that we see. So you can imagine that's how it's been created. And as the wind's driving around to meet at the tropics, it's driving the whole rotation. So the sun is flowing around. And you've got to understand that the sun we see is at the end of the Milky Way. This end of it, you know, the tropical end of the Milky Way, but the other end goes up. It goes up and over into the centre Arctic, to the real sun, the real unseen plasma sun. We only get an image through the light spectrum. All the real action's back in the centre vortex of creation. That's the house, the engine. Okay, that's where the motor is, and we're only seeing the wheels turn out in our physical realm. Everything turning around the tropics there. We are led to believe, because on a practical level, for the understanding of the simple mind, the human mind, in a physical sense, that's how it would work. We sort of replicate that sort of thing down on Earth in physics, electrical engineering and all that. But if you understand the tokamak plasma reactor and all that, how they feed the plasma has to be in a confined, tight magnetic field. Well, that's what's happening back in the centre Arctic. It's a tight magnetic field. because that zone, that high pressure zone up high, is outside of our pressurized zone of our perceived physical realm. Okay? So where we see our sun, or we assume it's there, in the tropical gap there, it's all due to moisture. There's moisture flowing up to the tropical gap. That's the low pressure zone. Okay? It's the lowest pressure zone on the earth. And then what happens is the water that's flowing through underneath the earth gets energized as it's moving through. Like, imagine it flowing through rapids. Gets energized, the molecule gets energized, and it wants to seek out the lowest pressure medium. So it rises up through the tropics, and it goes through a changing state as it rises through ionization. You know, lightning and all that sort of stuff. It's being drawn up, and it gets to a certain point where it's been completely shredded, the hydrogen molecule, and then reforms again when it hits the high pressure zone. And now it's up there at the high pressure zone, reformed into helium, hydrogen and helium gas to feed the sun. It gets sucked into the low pressure black hole centre above the Arctic Circle. That's what draws it in. The black hole, the centre of a black hole or a vortex is low pressure. Well, it's recombined above the tropics here into high pressure and gets dragged over into that low pressure zone. That's only one side of the Milky Way. There's another end to it. See, that's the male side, male end. There's a female end that goes from the plasma sun in the centre Arctic straight down the vortex to the centre Arctic, down towards the Buford Gyre. Buford Gyre is a big rotation of fresh water. Where does that fresh water come from? In the salt sea of the Arctic. It comes from above. It falls like mist, light rain. It's all described in religion, mythological stories, you name it. And that vortex, if you look down on it, it's rotating clockwise. But if you take a vortex and look down and then go look up, what's it doing up in the north? Anti-clockwise. It's all connected. That vortex is connected with the Buford Gyre. And it's all mirrored. That whole vortex in the centre north is mirrored to the southern hemisphere. All around the southern hemisphere. So that rotation that moves the stars, because all the stars and all the celestial bodies are in that vortex, you know, it's outside of our realm. It's in there and it's always turning. It's sending a picture all the way around the south. Because it's centralised, it's got an image out to the south everywhere. So someone in the southern hemisphere is going to see his nighttime star rotation, or the movement of the stars, all due to the fact they're turning back there in the north. It's a parabolic projection, because the southern hemisphere is just it's concave shaped, like the flux of a ring magnet. The curves on the outer perimeter creates this mirrored, concave mirror effect to create a parabolic projection back to the observer in the southern hemisphere. It comes back to his eyesight right there. It's right there on his horizon. A nice rotation if you stay on a north to south meridian and use, you know, star trail photography. You get a nice a circle of stars. Okay, that's the guts of it all, guys. Look into it. Check out my channel at Meta369. Okay, it's a YouTube channel at Meta369. Check it out. Think about joining up my Patreon too. You get a bit more info there. Thanks, guys. See ya.